Back. Quarterback is Jeff Clemens as he fakes the handoff, now throwing deep down the middle of the field. That ball is complete at the 40-yard line, and a big reception on the first pass of the game to Marcus McCoy.
Well, the Golden Eagles got off to an explosive start on Saturday against Seton Hill with that big pass play you just saw, and we hope to get off to a similar start here tonight for the Chris Weibel Coaches Show, entering Week 6 now. Sean Fagan, joined by Clarion head football coach Chris Weibel. Coach, it's a big week in Clarion. It's Autumn Leaf Festival. We got people walking up and down the street. We just had the parade go down the street. You've been in Clarion for a long time. You've seen the impact that this event has on the community over the years.
It is. It's just an exciting week. You know, I don't know anywhere else in the world that has 7 days of homecoming, but, you know, we do. You know, we like to have fun, and, you know, it's just a lot of people in town throughout the week, and on Saturday for the homecoming game, it just is so much excitement, and the atmosphere is just outstanding.
You know, one of the things that I really enjoy about this week, Coach, is, and you've already seen it, I'm sure, it's a time for reunions. It's a time for traditions, people that plan their years or plan their falls around getting together again during the Autumn Leaf Festival. People that I know that I would never have thought had a connection to Clarion that go, oh, yeah, me and my friends go up there every year. It really is a special thing. It really adds to that layer of community that we have here at Clarion.
It does, you know, and even before I, you know, came back to coach, I was one of those people. You know, we came back, we met back here, you know, and had kind of a mini reunion, you know, for a couple days, and then went back home, and, you know, as soon as we went back home, look forward to the next year. So it is a special time to, you know, meet up with classmates, teammates, you know, and I love just being here as head coach, seeing all my teammates and other Clarion alum come back.
And as you mentioned, it is this week-long build-up to homecoming, and we're going to talk about that homecoming game in a little bit. But right now, let's focus on the win that you just enjoyed on Saturday, a 19-16 road win against Seton Hill in Greensburg. Dean Smith from the University of North Carolina was once interviewed, and they asked him, what were your most memorable wins? And he said, national championships and road conference victories.
Absolutely.
Is there anything better than getting on the bus after a road conference win?
Absolutely not. You know, it's exciting. You know, obviously it's harder playing away from home. So we were able to pull it out. You know, we missed a couple opportunities down there this past Saturday, but we ended up being able to hang on for the win.
Another coachism I've heard, and we used this a couple weeks ago when we talked about Lincoln and Gannon, was the idea that a hungry dog is a dangerous dog. We talked about how Lincoln was dangerous coming in because they were looking for a win. Gannon was dangerous. Seton Hill in that same boat. They're a team that they're coming home. I believe that was their homecoming this past weekend. And they're trying to put on a show for their fans. They're trying to rebound from a tough start to the season. And they got off to a fast start.
They did. You know, they have some very good athletes, and we knew that. You know, they can sling the ball around a little bit. They probably have one of the best, you know, better wideouts in the conference. He's fast. He goes up and gets the football. We saw that Saturday. We were able to hold him at bay enough, and, you know, again, to come away with a victory.
It's one of those things that it's kind of crazy to say because he had over 200 yards receiving.
He did.
But if you look at the other facets of the game, you possessed the ball for long stretches of time. Even when your defense couldn't get off the field, you were making them have to drive the ball. You weren't giving up cheap touchdowns in that regard. So that was a way that you counteracted the work of Ardell Brown. Was, it seems to me, you just keep the ball in front of you. You don't let this guy who's a speedster get over the top of you.
Yeah, you don't. You can't let him get behind you because that's when he can hurt you. You know, and on the offensive side, you know, we were putting long drives together. You know, and that's what we need to do. We put a 15-play drive together. We didn't get any points out of it, but the 15-play drive was enough to keep our defense fresh, come back out and do their job. So, you know, every team you play is going to make big plays. They had a couple big plays in that game. but we kept them from having enough.
You look at the time of possession, as I said, you possessed the ball for nearly 38 minutes of action in that game. And a big part of that, too, was someplace where you've struggled at other times in the year. 7 of 17 on third down, keeping those drives alive. Like you said, sometimes the best way to attack a good offense, maybe the best way to attack a good offense, is to keep them off the field. And your team now is winning the time of possession battle on a consistent basis week to week.
Right, and that's something we practice about. It's something we talk about, every week, is if we can do that, and our defense is dangerous. We know it. Everybody else knows it. If we can keep them fresh, they're even more dangerous. So, we need to put drives together. We need to win time of possession. We just need to keep continuing to work on getting points on the board.
You were opportunistic in that sense. Then turnovers, you turn turnovers into 7 points, plus special teams, a blocked punt into another 3. You're talking about stealing 10 points in that game that you win by a single score. Your defense once again put you in a position to win, and your special teams as well with those big plays.
Correct. They did, and I think, we had 2 interceptions on the day, but if you watch our film, if you can remember back, we should have had 3 more. Obviously, their receiver kind of stole one out of Chris Goday's hands on one play, and we dropped 2 other ones. So we should have had 5 takeaways, turnovers that, Saturday, which probably would have set it a little bit more apart. But, again, it is what it is, and, they do their job every week.
You look at the stats on the season, you have 12 interceptions as a team. I don't know if you've looked into this, Coach. You only had 13 as an interceptions as a team all of last year. And currently, you're tied for second in the NCAA in interceptions. Edinburgh has an absurd 15 interceptions through 5 games.
Right. I'm not a big stats guy. I don't really look at stats. The kids look at stats. Some of the coaches look at stats. I don't. The only stat I care about is the W. I don't care if it's by 1 point. I don't care if it's by a landslide. But, we got to win, and that's, to me, that's what counts.
Once again, this was a game where you took away the opposing running attack. Shinkway Sweeting had just 19 rushing yards at the end of the first half, and he had 2 big runs in the third quarter. But that was it. I mean, once again, Seton Hill, they weren't down by a great margin at that point. There was still some time to establish the run game if you needed to, so you can't say they abandoned it because they had to play catch-up. This has become a trend. I mean, we're halfway through the season now, and we're seeing that every week since that Lock Haven game when you allowed, I believe, 128 yards rushing, since that time, the run game for the opponents has just simply gone away.
Well, that's part of our philosophy on defense. Stop the run game. Let them. If you make them put the ball in the air, there's more room for error. Bad pass, interceptions, bad routes. Drop balls. It's easier to hand it to somebody and let them run with it. So if we could stop that aspect of the game, make them put it up in the air and get a good rush on them. Bring a little bit of pressure in our defensive backs, and I think showed their talent last Saturday, what they're actually capable of doing. I mean, that's what we need to do every week.
And on the other side of that coin, your running game, your running backs, you got a little something going there. Over the course of that game, you had just 31 carries for just 80 yards, but also those guys catching balls out of the backfield. Keanu Young with 2 big receptions. Scotty Florence breaking off some runs. Subsequently, it makes your job a lot easier if you can establish that run game and you can take some of the pressure off of your wide receivers on the outside.
Absolutely. And don't forget about, we haven't played with our starting 11 since week 1, which people seem to not think about. And last week was no different. We were still, missing our starting right tackle. And for basically the 3rd week in a row, our starting running back. So the guys that are 2, 3, 4 running backs, stepped up their game the past couple weeks, are getting it done. We're rotating them through. They all have their strengths, but they work hard. I'm interested to see, once we get, Malik back, what we can do with all 4 of them.
Coach, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Seton Hill game you're watching on the Clarion Golden Eagle Vision app. Back to the Chris Weibel Show, and Coach, our fans at home watching on the Clarion Golden Eagle Vision app just got a good look at one of the big performances from the day on Saturday. That was Chris Gilday, and he made it happen on defense, and he made it happen on special teams. Seems to me that Chris is sort of the ideal player progression that a coach hopes for. He redshirted his first year, steps into a greater role last year, and now all of a sudden he's taken a regular starting spot for your team, and he's making a huge impact.
He is. He is just a great player. You know, every day in practice, just it contributes to his game on Saturday. You know, he goes 100 mile an hour every play. He's very smart. He understands the philosophy of the defense, the game plan. And he put himself in a lot of great positions, Saturday, and he probably should have came away with at least another pick. And then on special teams too, you could see his effort on special teams was a big turnover, block punt, which led to some points. So, I can't say enough great things about Chris and how he stepped up, and I look forward to him just continuing to get better every week.
Maybe take us through that blocked punt a little bit. Sometimes when you see a punt get blocked, or whenever a team puts on a rush, they say, well, that's something that we saw in the film, that we knew there was a vulnerability there. And sometimes it's just a guy making a play. What was that play on Saturday? Was that something that maybe you had worked on, that maybe he had keyed on in film over the course of the week?
Yeah, we did work on, bringing a block or bringing some pressure from his side, but he just made a play. He came back and he didn't get free. He pushed the guy that he was blocking into the punter, into the kick, which takes effort, which takes heart, and he did that. And, he didn't have to do that. He could have stopped when he got blocked. He could have tried to dip around, but he didn't. He went through him and he made something happen, which to me was probably the difference in the ballgame.
It really was the difference in the ballgame. You're talking about you get 3 points out of that drive. I know you were hoping for more, but you get 3 points and you win the game by 3 points. There you go right there. It's one of those plays that, again, people tend to have this attitude that nobody pays attention to special teams until something goes wrong.
Yeah,
or something goes right.
Right. Well, I do. You can ask my guys, ask my coaches. I speak every week, every day about special teams, how we need to focus, how we need to win special teams. Because if we can win special teams, we can win football games. Last Saturday, perfect example.
And another guy, speaking of special teams, while we're on that topic, James Metzger. He's a guy that he's gotten, I think, much better from last year to this year, kicking the football. Obviously, there was the missed kick early in the game. That was the result of some exchange issues, it seemed like. But he adds a couple more field goals. Those are pressure situations. Again, you're on the road, and you're taking on a team that's hungry for a win. And he boots through the eventual game winner and clinches the win for you. And James is a guy that had to bounce back from an injury over the offseason, and he's doing much better now.
He is doing a lot better, and I have the utmost confidence in James. If we need 3 points or we need points in general, and it's fourth down, we're going to kick a field goal. If we're in range, in James's range, and he kicks before the game. I know what his range is, depending on weather, wind, you name it. And if we think it's a good situation for him, then we put him out there because, again, I have confidence he's going to put it through. Every kicker misses balls or overcompensates for something or slips or, bad snaps or bad holds. So, but I have confidence in James, and, he's going to continue to make field goals, and he's going to continue to win games for us.
And it's such a nice thing to have in your back pocket, too, when you know that if you get down within a certain range that you can pretty reliably count on 3 points. You had that a couple years ago with Phil Esposito. He was a great kicker here.
He was.
And it's such a weapon for your offense, like I said, to know that you have reliable points within a certain distance.
Absolutely. No coach wants to get in the red zone and come out with no points. If you can at least get 3, we got to get 3. We got to be able to put them, through the uprights. And again, the confidence I have in James, I'm confident we'll get 3 if we get down in there and get stopped.
Taking a look at the offense now, it seems to me that over the last couple of weeks, you've benefited from big plays. Those have been the big touchdowns you've scored the last 2 weeks, and they've both gone to the same guy. Dana Jackson seems to be getting more comfortable in the offense. He's a transfer wide receiver. He was an All-American high school track star as well. And he scored the big touchdown, the long pass in the first half that sort of broke that game open and made it a 2-score game, I believe, at that point.
Right.
How's his development been in your offense?
It's been great. He's smart. He understands what we're trying to do, and he's quick and fast, and he catches the football. What else do you want?
I guess it's pretty simple, isn't it?
It's pretty simple. Try to get the ball to Dana. He does a good job, and that play, for instance, was wasn't the specific route he was supposed to run, but it was open, and him and Jeff kind of connected with their eyes. To be honest with you, and it played out that way, which I'm okay with that. If we're gonna make plays happen, and good players make good plays. So, but he's come a long way, since he's gotten here, and again, he'll continue to get better, and I'm looking forward to it.
And that's something we've seen out of Jeff Clemens when he has played this year. We've seen the propensity to throw that deep ball, that he's going to take that shot. He took a shot to Marcus McCoy earlier in the game. He hit Dana Jackson for that one. And just big plays in general. Your team has fed off of a lot of big plays. Another one that comes to mind, 45-yard reception to Keanu Young.
Right.
And that was a huge play that flipped the field. You'd love to see more consistency, sort of that churning on offense, but when you can take those explosive plays, you gotta have them.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of them. When they're there, you got to take advantage of them. And to me, field position is the biggest issue or biggest thing right now on Saturdays. Is if we can win field position, we'll be okay. It obviously helps out the defense, and gives the offense an opportunity to score. But if you don't win field position and time of possession, then you're in trouble.
Yep. One more discussion point here on the defense. Corey Wells with another interception. You have 4 players with multiple interceptions this year. Mm-hmm. It's not like you've got a cornerback that somebody's picking on and they're, stepping into a lot of passes.
Right.
Quarterbacks are spreading the ball around, and they all seem to be ending up in your players' hands. Corey's we talked about Dorian Johnson a couple weeks ago, but Corey's on the other side there, and he's making plays as well.
Right, he is. Again, I can't say enough about the defensive backfield. Corey and Dorian and Sam and Chris, and Gus.
And Gus, yeah, Gus has big plays this year.
And Q and Sam kind of fought over one Saturday. They ended up colliding. Is why Q didn't get the interception, but he should have had one too. So those guys, again, they attack the football. They play within the scheme. They trust the philosophy, and they really study film. The defense, all our guys watch film, but the defense, they're individually have to watch an hour of film per day all week. So that's outside of their meetings. So they really know how they're getting attacked, which again can put themselves in the right positions.
Well, it becomes muscle memory at that point, doesn't it?
Yes,
you
does.
See a front and you say, okay, this is where they're going.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to the homecoming game on Saturday against the California Vulcans. You're watching on the Clarion Golden Eagle Vision app. Well, that was our last look at some of the highlights from last week's game against Seton Hill, but with all things, we must look forward, and it's going to be a big game on Saturday afternoon. The Cal Vulcans coming to town. Coach, it's homecoming, it's Autumn Leaf Festival, and it's two teams tied for first place in the division. If you're not excited for this one, you're in the wrong line of work.
You are. I couldn't ask for anything better. Like you said, a homecoming game, playing for first place. The excitement. The only thing I would change was maybe be all the distractions all week.
Sure, absolutely. Maybe keep some of these guys away from some of the carnival vendors down here. Keep them away from the Molnar's cinnamon rolls
for 5 days.
Yeah, that too. Put them in a hotel. Have you considered that? So Cal's coming in. They're coming off a big win over IUP. It was a big play late that sealed that game for Cal. It was a very close game throughout. But Cal has that big play potential, don't they?
They do. They're athletic. You never know when a big play is coming. You better be focused. Better understand what they're doing, and don't make a mistake, because if you do, then here comes a big play. They made it versus IUP, and they came away with a win.
Yeah, the guy that made that play was Lamont McFadder. He's already been the Defensive Player of the Week in the division twice, and it's because he seems to score anytime he can get his hands on a ball. He had the 100-yard interception return against the Crimson Hawks last week. He's a guy you've got to account for out there.
Oh, we are. Don't worry about that. He's fast. He's a great football player. He's smart. He's always in the right position, and he's fast. Very athletic. You
mentioned that twice. He must be pretty fast.
He's pretty fast. So we just got to make sure we know where he's at. And not just him. Some other guys on the defense. That are really fast. And on the offense, they have weapons. They're running back, their quarterback. They have some wideouts that can make some plays. The tight end. They have athletes. And again, we have to make sure we're focused and we're following our responsibilities and make sure we play well.
Yeah, this is no pop gun offense that the Vulcans are bringing here on Saturday. This is a team that leads the conference in passing. They've got 3 guys in the top 10, I think, in receiving. They run the ball really well. But they've got a true freshman quarterback, Noah Mitchell, and he's made a lot of plays for them. He's one of the top passers in the league right now.
He is. He's very impressive, and just being a quarterback, being a former quarterback, having a quarterback mentality, watching him, He's very calm in the pocket. He can throw off balance. He can be so off balance and throw and look so awkward, but the ball just goes. So he has that raw talent. He's very poised. And he's a nice-sized kid that can run. So not only can he throw, he can run. So we have to make sure we're accounting for that as well.
One of the things that Cal always seems to have is a rotation of running backs that can all move the ball. They've got 3 guys that are going to get carries this weekend, and what that does, it just keeps those guys fresh, and they can really wear you down over the course of a game.
They can. They just rotate, running backs in there, like you said, keep them fresh and running, and they're different styles. Some are more power, some are more shifty. We have to be ready for all of them, and changing the pace and keeping them fresh is something we have to keep them in check.
Yeah, you look at like Jalen Bell was a guy that was a big contributor last year for them. He's 3rd on the depth chart right now, and he's a senior running back. They've got younger guys that are going out there, and they're performing like gangbusters. It's escaping me right now on their 2 deep, but their number 1 back has 3 straight games of over 100 yards rushing. And again, the thing that always seems to set Cal apart is the athleticism, the speed. You look at the defensive backfields of years past, and those are almost like Division I caliber defensive backfields.
They are. Their linebackers are 190 pounds. 6 foot 5'11". They're not the typical linebacker, but they're better because they're more athletic and they'll hit you. So. They rotate a lot of people to stay fresh. Even on the offensive line, they're rotating. Guards in and out like throughout the whole game, to keep them fresh. So, the more people you can rotate and the fresher you can be, the more opportunity you have to beat your opponent, and they have that ability to rotate guys.
Well, we'll get the opportunity to see the Vulcans this Saturday at 2 o'clock at Memorial Stadium. That will be the end of our Autumn Leaf Festival here, and we really hope that all of our folks come on out and they check out the Golden Eagles taking on the Vulcans on homecoming on Saturday. I'd like to thank Jared Sullenberger for producing tonight's program. I'd like to thank Brian Smith and all the people at Clarion River Brewing for allowing us to use this space. And I'd like to thank Coach Weibel for joining me here, as he does every week, Wednesdays at 7 o'clock during football season. And maybe after football season on Wednesday nights, too. We don't know.
Can do that. I got more time then.
Yeah, you're not. Possibly.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's all right. I'm Sean Fagan. Thanks so much for joining us for the Chris Weibel Show. We'll see you next week.